2007. It was a special time in South African rugby. For the first time ever, two local teams contested a Super Rugby final. Jake White to be making steady progress with a Bok team that was starting to threaten, and all of this was pointing towards the Rugby World Cup in France. A star-studded team of hopefuls aside, the Springboks also had a leader that many felt could take this team to new heights. That man was, of course, John Smit. Not since Francois Pienaar in the 90s had a Bok captain cut such a mighty figure in leading his nation into battle. And with expectations of millions, he was about to create a very special moment in Springbok history. This is a 2007 Rugby World Cup show with John Smit. Let's get into it. All right, one of the biggest moments, I think, as a sports fan that I had was back in 2007. It was a really great time. I was youthful. Every Saturday was an absolute banger, and it was the Rugby World Cup. Not any kind of Rugby World Cup, of course. It was the one that the Springboks won. It was their first win after 1995, and it was just the most joyous time. The man who was in charge of all that, basically, the man who raised the trophy, the man that brought it all to us, was none other than John Smit, and here he is in studio with us.
And if it's any consolation, it was one of my favorite sporting moments as well.
I hope so. Great. We're on a level pegging here. John, thanks so much for joining us. It dawned on me recently that from your era, you might probably do the least amount of podcasts. I mean, John, Skulk, those guys, they're pretty much full-time.
They have gotten busy. I think they've got about 14 different podcasts with the three same guys, and they just sort of swap seats.
It's amazing. And for guys with a command of English language like theirs, I mean, they're actually pretty good.
They are bloody funny, and I think they talk about interesting stuff that's quite sort of topical from a rugby point of view. And the thing that makes a podcast is that sort of connection and the energy between the three of them. So they've got good banter. They mock each other. They laugh at each other. Sometimes it's Shimmy and Jean against Skulk, and Jean and Skulk against Shimmy. And so it's always fun. I did a bit of work with them in the World Cup, and it's never dull.
But this is what I believe about your era, right? Because you guys were kind of before the social media era. And I think that you guys went on tour. There's a bit more camaraderie. The guys more nowadays are more clinical, more professional, and maybe almost more guarded. Would that be fair to say?
It's actually a really interesting topic. And I do think that it plays a factor in how we behave differently and how the new generation behaves differently. And I'm not just talking about rugby, but we'll specifically say in our, I mean, when was it? I think I've registered onto, back in the day, that's how old I am, onto Twitter. But I think it was 2009. It was the first time I...
So that would have been the start. Because remember, 2010 was when, obviously, the World Cup was here, the FIFA World Cup. Yes. That's when everyone got onto it properly.
Okay. But I mean, by that stage, our careers were pretty much done, and we'd been through the mill. And our biggest challenge was the worst invention in the world, which is the camera phone. Like, it's the worst thing in the world, because there's just, you whenever you're out and there's either a picture or someone catches a moment or there's a video. So that, I mean, now you've got that to go on a platform across the world, and it just spreads instantaneously. I mean, we look at this just how one person filming a big screen at a Coldplay concert posts it, and how that just goes viral through millions in such a fast time. So I do think that this generation, who've also got a great ears, have had to be a lot more careful about how they behave in the public eye, because everyone's trying to catch a picture of you doing something stupid.
Absolutely.
So we didn't have that much of a challenge. We could be a little bit more foolish and a little bit more boyish.
But this is what people also forget, is that you guys were young men when this is happening. We've all been in our 20s and 30s. It's like, what do you expect from guys as well?
Yeah. Young men is probably an ambitious statement. Most of us were just young boys in big bodies, So, but it's, I suppose to try and explain it, it's like going on golf tour with your mates, but you're on golf tour for 5 weeks, and there's a game every weekend, but in between, you've got to you got to eat, you got to socialize, you got to relax. There's time off, and so you live in each other's pockets for days on end. I mean, I was averaging just over 210 days away from home, sort of in the peak of our international career. So it means that you're out there in the public domain quite a lot. And when you're out there as a Springbok, you do belong to the people. So you've also got to pay that some respect.
Okay, so this show is going to be all about the 2007 Rugby World Cup, but obviously from a fan's perspective, the next World Cup that we are going to be most interested in is 2027 in Australia. Now, if you want to go, well, SA Rugby Travel, that's your place to go to. So if you go to sarugbytravel.com/rugby world cup Australia 2027, you can register your interest in the packages that come out. So as soon as you put your details down there, at the moment those packages are ready, then you'll have the ability to now book your trip to the 2027 Rugby World Cup. Obviously, you can plan all this by yourself, but it's a bit of a hack. Whereas with SA Rugby Travel, you can go in a big group. You know exactly what you're going to get. And you can be there for the three-peat. It's going to happen. All right, John. So we need to kick it off because obviously the World Cup doesn't just start with guys getting on a plane. There is a lot of preparation that goes into that. And I think with your era as well is that you came in as captain when Jake White came in. You were still a young man. We're gonna go with the young man for you in particular. The rest can stay young boys. But 2004, I mean, it was an interesting time because you guys actually had a really great first year under Jake there. You guys won the Tri-Nations.
It was an interesting time because we had come out of the 2003 World Cup and it was abysmal.
I didn't want to bring that up because I just thought,
But the other thing that most people don't know is actually Rudolf Straley made me captain against Georgia in the World Cup pool stage game. So I had been captain once, but purely just to give Corne the week off, and so that was my first opportunity to captain. But at the time, it didn't really. It seemed like it was just sort of doing it for the weekend against sort of a smaller nation, and give Corne the weekend off. But when it actually became a reality was when Jake asked to meet me at the Mug and Bean here in Santon City and ask if I wanted to be captain. And it's weird, like. I always dreamt of playing for the Springboks, and in my mind, it was this amazing team that we just obliterated everyone in front of us. But it didn't really start like that for me in my first couple of years. 2000 under Nick, there was so much going on, and him ending up getting fired because of the ticket prices story, which was crazy. Then we had Harry. Harry was.
But that was, after Nick was so good, you guys had the longest winning streak was that.
Yeah.
It's like the 16 or 17 streak games.
Yeah, look, when it comes to South African coaches and common sense around whether they stay or go, there's not a hell of a lot that's gone on in the past.
Not back then,
I think
no.
Rassie's probably the first coach that's been given the opportunity to continue, and he's done amazing for us. But there's a lot of coaches, I think, on the list of that would feel aggrieved in some form.
Well, it was almost like mid-tier, like football managers in England. You would get the sack quite quickly. It would just be a tabloid like expectation.
Yeah, and I guess that's why there is expectation, and when it's not being met, and the expectation is super high from a South African public point of view. But 2004, we were just grateful to be chosen in the squad. I mean, I'll never forget. When he asked me to be the captain, and I said yes, and I said, as long as you promise we'll get back to winning, and like any Jeppy boy would do, he just sort of nodded his head and said yes. But he really did have a massive plan for us. When we got together in the Southern Sun at Bloemfontein, and again, everyone was just so glad to be there, and it wasn't about whether we were playing Ireland, who were the Triple Crown champions at the time, and we were literally underdogs because of how poorly we had performed at the World Cup. I think we were ranked 6th or 7th in the world, and Jake just came in there, and the first thing he said to us was, in 4 years' time, the William Webber Cup will be in this change room. So we did think that he might have had a few too many brandies that afternoon, but he just changed our mindset, and we worked. Like, that was the thing that changed. We worked extremely hard. We were, for the first time, we were very well prepared. We had a really good strategy, and there was no debating the strategy. It was, this is the way. If you don't like it,
Which in a way is a kind of cool way to come in as captain, because you almost
absolutely.
had to
it was like a clean slate. We were all quite damaged. We hadn't really had a lot of game plan and strategy. We'd all run our asses off and fitness till the cars came in. But here was a combination of something we hadn't really experienced before, and it was a really strong strategy and like meticulous playbook kind of study material with extremely massive focus on fitness and conditioning, so strength and conditioning. So, and as soon as that started having results, I mean, we then beat Ireland twice in the first two games and confidence started brewing. Oh, this is working and it feels good. And we're all young. And so there weren't a lot. The only senior guys that we had there, which were two phenomenal guys, were Percy and Os. And they were also just grateful. Os was grateful just to have been given another opportunity to come back after his injuries. And Percy was had just come back from Wales. And so it wasn't like we had a massively strong, big senior group that were going to fight against a game plan or fight against a guy. When we saw something of value, the guys bought in straight away.
That's pretty cool. But like, so Skalkberg was Player of the Year. Jake was Coach of the Year that year, and you guys won the Tri-Nations. 2005, you won 8, lost 3. 2006, won 5, lost 7. Now, this is, again, I want to give this as a precursor to the World Cup, because at that stage, Jake's job was in jeopardy, kind of.
Not kind of. 100%.
I mean, it very much was.
Oh, I can tell you, I'll never forget, we were staying in a game lodge just outside of Rustenburg, because we were playing at the Royal Bafokeng Stadium, which is just outside of Rustenburg.
The All Black game.
Yeah. And we were 6 on the trot. We'd lost 6 on the trot. And it was there was a lot of things that happened that I think proved that we were on the right track.
Was that the year with the 49-0 loss to Australia as well?
That's 100% correct. A couple of weeks before.
Yes.
Yeah. That was Pierce Spiss's debut.
Right.
The 49-0. And there were a lot of we'd really built a really cool group of guys, and we really enjoyed each other. And so culture was a big thing, which I focused heavily on, around building the culture within the team. And by the time we got to 2006 and we had this run, and remember, we lost Fourie, we lost Skalk for large portions of that season, and then in some of those 6, they were like 4 or 5 points either side. The only really devastating result was the 49-0, which was just a capitulation. But 6 in a row is pretty heavy going, and the media were coming and they were saying, is there a split camp? Is it too many guys from this team? Is the coach lost the team, the change room?
Usual endless speculation.
All of that stuff, and the beautiful thing is that not one guy turned on another. No one player didn't turn on manager didn't turn on player didn't turn on player, and it actually galvanized us by everyone just taking on the responsibility themselves. So if it was me, then I'd say no, it's not Ben. It's me. I can throw straighter. I can tackle more. And that really galvanized us. But it did come down to one game. And it was that week. We got called in by the president of the South African Rugby Union. And he sat Jake and I down in his lodge room. And he very promptly said, look, if you don't win this weekend, you both will be done.
Oh, wow.
It can be quite motivating. Sort of Tim Robbins stuff.
I bet. And then I think it was Rodney Soyalo who gave away the penalty, which then led to...
It's almost crazy to think that our whole World Cup victory hung in the balance with 2 minutes to go and a crazy penalty. I mean, he came in from the side almost as if it looked like match fixing. I mean, he just came in from like nowhere and gave us this really half decent opportunity to win the game. And that's what saved us. If it wasn't for that kick or that penalty, Jake and I would...
I had none of this in my show prep. It's just that it really stands out for me because that game was so tight, and I'd never heard that story.
Jake and I came out and we were like, "What do we do? How do we vocalize?" I was like, "We don't say anything. We got to take this on. We can't tell the team this. It's just going to put more pressure on what's already a disaster situation." But these are the margins. We end up winning the game, the last test of the championship, and we live to fight another day. And a year later, we win the World Cup.
But didn't that another day was end of year tour where Jake was brought back in between the England tests?
Yeah, I mean...
But was that more just like a, we need to show you who's boss thing? Or?
I think that had a lot to do with egos, yeah. Look, it would take a hell of a lot to fire a coach 6 months before a World Cup. And our performances... in 2004 and 2005, as well as towards the end of the year, and beating the All Blacks in Rustenburg, there was enough there to know for any half-decent rugby brain, of which there weren't many when in administration when we were playing in that era. So it was, yeah, I think we were safe. But yeah, Jake had a love-hate relationship with the South African rugby's administration. Or the people that ran, I guess they found him difficult to deal and to handle with, and he wanted certain things a certain way, and I think they were always at loggerheads, and it was always, and Jake was doing pretty well as a coach. The fact is, they disliked him so much as a World Cup winning coach that they asked him to reapply for the job after he'd won the World Cup, which I still think he should have done. But
it's such a mind-boggling thing that we'll get to it after the tournament stuff in particular, but I just think it was quite a weird thing again, like listening to you go through this kind of stuff. As average 4 drinks on a Saturday rugby fans have no idea all these kind of things. But it was kind of cool.
You don't want to know.
Also don't want to know. You're also right.
I promise you.
Like, it's cool
I
now
wish I didn't have to know.
It's cool now because we've got more than a decade under the bridge. We can get back to these stories. But I remember then Jake went there, came back, and US clapped England that weekend. It's a really, really cool way to finish the year. And ultimately, you guys must have felt, okay, cool, we survived. We are going into 2007. This is the big year. And what a big year it was, because you guys finished top, Bulls second, Super Rugby. Such an amazing thing, because now you guys are going to be having a home final. That game was played. Everyone enjoyed it. It was what it was. So we had Werner Olivier here recently, and he mentioned that after that game, Jake was so amped to get everything together. He said, right, guys, Sunday in Bloemfontein. And apparently you were like, hang on a second. We've just had this really huge moment. The guys are going to come in on Monday. Is that how it went down?
He's right. I got my two worst memories are probably that final and my 100th test. And I think that that final was just, it was, I guess, emotionally scarring, because it was the most amazing season. We had the coolest team. We had fun on the field. We had fun off the field. We enjoyed each other's company. We played amazing brand of rugby, and we'd done enough to win that game.
1913 up.
Myself and Monty were off the field, and we got that try through Albert van den Berg, and Francis Stan in his exuberance ran up to AJ, but we should have just given that ball to Butchie, who would have been sort of the more experienced player under that situation. Missed the kick, which means they're within a try and a converted try to win. And it all unfolded right in front of me. I was sitting on the bench watching this horror show unfold for the last 3-4 minutes. And there, I can never forget it, Lyndon Bray, linesman, Steve Walsh, referee, Vickers van Heerden on the floor, scooping that ball. And again, I got no animosity.
Better acknowledge that.
Yeah, I got no animosity around them, because if it was me, I would have tried everything I could have done and hoped that the ref didn't see. But there was no ways they couldn't have seen that. Anyway, cut a long story short, it was heartbreaking to see that try from Brian and the kick. I really was emotional. It took a while. And then when Jake wanted us the next Sunday, I just said, I'm not ready. I wasn't recovered. So we actually took my car and myself, Bob Skinstad, Percy Montgomery, and Butchie jumped into my car, and we drove from Durban on Sunday. So we did get there eventually. We just weren't ready to do it in the morning. And so the coolest thing about that story, and I don't know if Vainan mentioned it when he spoke about it, was we did some healing and played some music in the car, and we sort of set our emotions aside, and we started to try and get our mindsets into joining the team that had just beaten us. And when we got there, Victor had obviously been asking where our whereabouts and tracking them, and he got all of the Bulls guys to welcome us in the reception of the hotel. And I'm telling you, that was the moment we were able to heal and turn the page and move on to the next chapter. It was, and they were delighted to win, and look at what it did. They went and won a couple more as well. So, but it was that moment of them being quite humble in victory and sort of commiserating with us and welcoming us that really just switched our sort of Sharks light off and started the green and gold Springbok light.
That must be kind of cool as a captain for that to happen outside of your knowing. So it's like that the squad's got so much more to it than just players wanting to be great. Yeah. Like there's a bigger thing on the go that you have had no doing in.
I think good groups, good teams are built around that. And ironically, when you play your first cap, you read a code of conduct. And there's only really one line that's really important, and it's synonymous with any decent organization. But it says there you promise to put your own ambitions behind that of the teams. And I think that's really where we were at. We'd gotten together as a bunch of losers from 2003. Youngsters started building, started getting to know each other. Girlfriends became wives, wives became mothers, and we became this family over a 4-year period. So it was a cool journey. I mean, I think it's testament till today. We are 18 years later, and the guys enjoy each other's company. We've got a beautiful WhatsApp group that goes, which I have to monitor quite aggressively from a Percy Montgomery point of view. He's had to be kicked off a few times and then rehabilitated in. But the guys just enjoy each other, and they celebrate each other's successes, and it's been a privilege. The group more than the actual results, to be fair.
But again, like the dynamic of that, where you look back again, we don't go too far back in this episode, but things were quite tribal or provincial with the north, the south, and those kind of things. And Bok camps couldn't have been that harmonious going into it.
That was probably my biggest challenge. I mean, if I think about it, and South Africa's got diversity across everything, color, religion, education, everything, and language. But rugby's got one more, and it's called provincialism. And it's this, okay, now it's the Bulls versus Western Province. It's carnage. And back in the day, those were our test matches during the sanctioned era. That was
Sure.
It was carnage. And I always tell the story, like, I eventually get to every meal in 2004, and there's all the Bulls like sitting on one table talking about khaki clothing and Hiluxes. And then there's all the sort of Free State Oaks talking about farming and tractors. And then there's all the Sharks Oaks talking about how big the waves were on North Beach and what color Havaianas to wear in the afternoon. And then there's all the Stormers Oaks on the one table talking about hair products. And then the One Lines guy. And I thought, how do we change this? And it doesn't change. Like, a good culture doesn't change from the bottom up. That's called a coup. It has to be from the senior guys up. And there were 5 or 6 guys that could have been in my position as captain of that group. We had such an amazing leadership group. So I went to the 6, 7 guys that I thought were most senior. I said, okay, we've got one rule: 3 meals a day. Just don't sit in the same table twice. And so we started moving around and integrating and actually trying to break down that provincialism. And we got it spot on, because I mean, there were a large part of the time where at a time when you were a Shark, you wanted to actually preferred being in the environment back home, because it wasn't as good as it should have been in the Springbok environment. As in the Bulls, they had an amazing environment as well. I can tell you right now, sometimes there were guys in that squad that felt it was nicer to be at the Bulls camp than it was in the Springbok camp. But for the first time, I really believe that's what made the difference, is that everyone looked forward to getting together for Springbok camp.
That's amazing, eh? As that must have given you a lot of, like, almost quiet confidence going into it. But the Tri-Nation itself was a strange preparation, because this was the first time you really had the split squads. So you guys obviously had a plan. It's like, those guys are going to go do those matches, they're going to do these matches. Was that the first time we've ever seen that within the box?
Yeah, I think it is the first time that
it's almost commonplace now that we're doing something different.
Yeah,
but that was the first time, really.
Yeah, we were quite specific around game time and the sort of combination of experience, test caps, and freshness. So that was what the plan was about. And Jake and a guy called Derek Kitsia and Henning Gericke, they were the guys that were advising Jake on sort of time, who needs what. And it's beyond my realm of understanding in terms of what you need. I mean, some players need to play more and more tests to get sharper and sharper.
Sure.
Some don't. But this was the first time that we actually did split the squad and actually send a certain squad overseas to play the overseas leg, keep certain guys here. Some guys did both, and it was all determined by how they were reacting from a physical point of view. Age came into it, game time came into it, but it was the first time, and it went down terribly with the rest of the world, because they thought we were disrespecting, the tournament. And in a sense, we were being selfish, but I can tell you right now, the team certainly represented itself. It's not like we'd won a majority of our games when we sent this perceived A team overseas anyway. So I think that did 2 things. It kept our squad fresh. It kept so-called first-line players on their toes, because other guys were having a crack at at their position and getting their jersey from them. And it gave us a lot more experience to go into that World Cup. I mean, Jake was really good from a leadership point of view. You know, he fast tracked Bob Skinstad, who was a Springbok captain. Johan Miller had captained the Springboks. Victor had captained the Springboks, and I had captained the Springboks. And so that made a massive difference. With all these leaders, we had 4 Bok captains in our squad.
That's amazing. But I mean, you guys weren't bothered by the controversy that came around from that. Like, you weren't flustered at that stage. You were so focused on the World Cup.
It's a good question, and I think that's what most people would always wonder. Like, how do you deal with all the
I mean, especially
noise?
from, as you say, with the Rustenburg thing. Like, there's realities around winning and losing. Yeah,
look, I think there's a big difference in terms of things that you need to worry about, and then the noise. And you end up creating a bubble. You live in a bubble, and so and it's amazing. My wife, when I first started, I would read the press, and then there's a great article on me, and you read it, and your tires get pumped up, and you feel like a hero. But then you have a bad couple of weeks, and there's a bad article, and then you get irritated. And so, if you want to read the good stuff and blow your own horn, you've also got to read the bad stuff. So at the end of the day, you actually just don't read anything, and you pick 3 or 4 people in your life that you trust that are going to give you an honest opinion about your work rate, your performance, how well you're playing, your attitude, and that's sort of how we survive all that noise. Because I mean, the media just is nonstop, and it's their job. It's their job to hype the game up. It's their job to find the frailties in the captain and to when he does well, to put him on a pedestal. It's this massive roller coaster, but you've got to try and stay off the roller coaster, and you've got to try and see the facts, and you've got to have perspective all the time. And I think that's how we survive that noise.
That's smart. Again, it's also how you stay balanced for consistent time periods. Because, I mean, we know that since social media came out, you get the players who are honest, you get the players who are off it. And there's no value being on it, really. I can totally understand now where you don't get personality on social media, because what's the point?
I would, if I was a current player, there's no ways I'd have social media.
No.
It's like it's like you watch those like horror movies, and there's that wooden cupboard, and that if you open that door, it's going to lead you into a very horrifying realm.
Yeah, it's like a horror version of Narnia.
And when the cupboard's there, it's almost like these stupid actors keep on opening the door. And that's what social media is for I guess, for a player or for a high profile person. It's the ability for those horror characters to come through the cupboard into your room. You're basically giving them a platform.
That's pretty much the best description I've heard so far about this. Okay, so to the World Cup itself. Now, these are, again, questions that us fans never get anywhere near. But, like, how do you work out what's a good base? How do you guys, I mean, how much are you brought in when it comes to actually logistics around this? Or do you just have the team that goes, guys, we're staying at this hotel, we're staying at this place, be ready for the bus?
Players have got zero involvement. When I say zero, players will have preferences around where they'd like to stay, but the logistics have always been run, and I mean, it's the most privileged environment. I'll never forget. My wife she has a laugh around. We went on honeymoon, and it was the most stressful thing in my life. I had to literally carry my own bag. I had to check in. I mean, I even had to hold my own passport. And I say this in a sarcastic way, but we would rock up to at the Southern Sun, and all we had to do was have our 2 bags outside of our room door, packed, and be in our number ones. Passports, everything were in with Charlie, the manager, and you would then comfortably get onto an air-conditioned bus, go to the airport, slide through the VIP, passports all there waiting, get checked through, jump into the lounge, business class, slide into another bus into the UK, and then rock up to this amazing hotel with your 2 bags waiting for you. Nice. Now, it's not the real world, but it feels like the real world when you do it for about a decade. So it's always predetermined, and it's unbelievably well organized, and it's probably one of the hardest jobs to do. It's like herding cats. You've got 35, 45 players, 15, 20 management. I mean, it's a massive gig, and there's moving parts all over the place. But no, if players got involved in all that, it would be a colossal mess.
So, but it's quite settled, though. I mean, how World Cups are done is you obviously have your host cities, and you'll always be, there's not too much travel around there. Yeah. Most nations get that right.
So then a guy like like Charles will go, he'll do a reconnaissance, and he'll go months in advance, and once they know the draw and where they're going, he'll go months in advance to the cities that we're playing in, and then look at see which hotels would suit the team best and make the decision on behalf of the team. But it's done months in advance so that they can get first pick of the hotels and get the team settled into a place. And now Charles has been doing it for over 200 tests, so he's got a pretty good idea of what he thinks the team will need. And it's around being able to walk to a coffee shop or have, be close to the training field. All these small things that can irritate a group. I mean, you pick a hotel 40 minutes from the training pitch. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
You're losing an hour and a half every day, and then all of a sudden, we lose a game, and then I'm getting actually my ear about the bus trip, and is there no other field? So remember, when you live in such a precious environment where everything's just you mollycoddle the whole time, like the smallest things become things you can moan about. Saying Charles's job is to try and eliminate all of those things just to keep guys in the right frame of mind all the time.
Okay, so we painted a pretty good picture here. You've got a fresh team. You guys have been well managed. There is wins and confidence in the squad. You've got to France. Everything's happy. You're in Pool A, first game, Samoa. So there's always those narratives you get to the World Cup, like, the South Pacific Islanders, they give you the greatest physical test. They're really like physical and abrasive. Do you feel like that's overhyped when it comes to these things, especially in World Cup settings?
It's not overhyped. I mean, that first 20 minutes in that test was carnage. I mean, I'll never forget. They set one of the two Lagi brothers came off a line-out, and he was going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. He must have had a 30-meter run-up. And I think it was Skulk and Donnie Rousseau, actually. They were the two guys who had to stop him. And, I mean, I think they both held on for dear life, but he took them 10 meters back. I mean, that 20 minutes was as physical as anything we've ever played. And then we just had to sort of hold the storm out for a while, and then we managed to get our game going and sort of stretch them a little bit more. But the Samoans are incredibly tough, incredibly talented, aggressive, big, strong, fast. I mean, if they had more resources, and we've seen it with Fiji as well, but if they had more resources, they would be a very difficult force to deal with.
Okay, so you guys did hang on there, 59-7. Unfortunately, you lost Jean de Villiers.
Yes.
Bicep gone, tournament over. Habana scored 4 tries. So a big game. I mean, was that like kind of the dream start for you guys? Obviously not losing Jean, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
But to have a tough game as a first game, is that something you guys always kind of would enjoy?
The physicality was important. So that first 20 minutes, I think, is what we needed, because there were a few guys that probably didn't have, hadn't played that kind of physicality for quite some time. So that first 20 minutes was probably the perfect start, and the fact that we were able to manage it and hold it. So yeah, the scoreline ended up becoming very flattering, but it was just because they'd run out of gas on the other side. But it was the best possible start, best team to play, the best way for us to be able to prepare for the next round of World Cup.
Well, the next round, okay, so again, pardon my endless questions around how you guys do this, but you'll look at your pool and you'll say, right, those guys are going to be quite physical. We know we can beat them. That's going to be our toughest game. So do you guys prepare differently in that kind of sense? So it's like you're looking to prime yourself for the England game, obviously, because you feel if you win this, you can win the group.
Yes.
Is it as basic as that? Like with the mentality?
Look, the preparation absolutely changes. And most of the change around how you prepare for the week is around analysis, around the team that you're playing. And so then you'll decide on what your focus areas are. So if it's physicality, then there's just a lot more bag work. There's a lot more contact during the week, maybe. And if it's a team that kicks more, then you spend a little bit more time on your exit strategies and your kick receipts. And so the preparation always changes, but the actual core of what you have to prepare remains the same. If you're a team that has a certain identity and there's certain things you can't avoid, you have to scrum, you have to do lineouts, you have to do defense, and then you'll design your skills around the kind of brand of rugby that you want to play. You can never make your whole week around what the opposition are and how to stop them. You also have to impose yourself and spend the majority of your time around how to impose yourself on that opposition team. So it does change, but for us it was very simple. We needed to beat England, and that was always going to be the kicker.
Okay, and it was pretty much the kind of near perfect game looking back on that now. I was watching highlights the other day. and we'll get to this a little bit later on, but people keep going on about the fact, like, will the 2007 team beat the 2025 team? That was a big debate for months and months. But when you watch that team in that game, and we've become so accustomed to like tight box matches in World Cups, that was just an absolute masterclass from forwards to backs all the way through. Like, what did that game feel like looking back at it now?
I mean, I didn't expect it to go that well, but
36-0. I just got to keep reiterating
it's
that.
it's like golf. You you get this one day all of a sudden, and you're shooting 6 below what you normally shoot. Things just work out, and everyone was on song. I mean, Fruity Priya and Butchie were sublime. They were almost operating as one, and the decision making around whether to kick and when to pass. I mean, there was, when you've got plan A and there's always a plan B, but we didn't even have to think about plan B. It was just, as we started, it just kept on going. And I think we also needed to have a reality check after 36-0. As a captain, you're always worried, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That was my very next question, because you've had the start.
And the reality was that Andy Farrell was the fly half. I mean, they had lost 3 fly halves. And so they were quite thin from a selection point of view. They didn't have Johnny Wilkinson, who's a massive player. And there was a lot of discern within the camp and between the camp and the coaching staff of England. So they had their own demons going on. And so you can combine that. Okay, don't have a pivot. So 10s, we're playing with a guy that's not a natural 10. And then we've got a coach that's irritating us. And then all of a sudden you play against the Springboks and they come out there carving, like everything's running smooth. So it was the perfect storm for them, I think. And so I had to play that story out quite a lot once we got to the final, to say this would be a different team. By that stage, they had decided to go with player power, and they had started running their own show and taking their own sessions, and they turned that World Cup around. So they were a different team, and I made sure that my team was aware of that.
So you've had this amazing start. You've hammered Samoa, maybe more on the scoreboard than in the bodies. 36 against England, your next game against Tonga. So we all know when it comes to World Cups, you might not start every single game. It's tough for a captain because you want to be in the mix the whole time. You have to give you guys game time. So there will be, a bit of a mix up here. Tonga 25, SA 30. Flattering for Tonga. They scored quite a lot at the end there. But I mean, what do you take out of a game like that? Is it about a good run out, or were you really fixating about the fact that we need to keep making a statement all the way through?
There was a couple of, it was actually quite simple, and it actually isn't flattering. I mean, there was a chance Tonga could have won that game. And there's a few things. They scored most of the points towards the end. So obviously we changed the team. We gave other guys the opportunity, and it started pretty well. And Andre Petrus was an unbelievable kicker, and he'd saved us against the All Blacks in Rustenburg. But his boot was off that day, and so we never kept that scoreboard clicking. So we just didn't have any momentum from a scoreline point of view, and so it always sort of stayed close. And as much as we were always a couple of points ahead, it just, every penalty missed and every conversion missed, sort of kept Tonga alive and more energized. And then obviously I think they scored just after halftime, and Jake was like, the whole bench, back on. And I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but it was quite close to the end, and it was 25-30. And we had a yellow card. Our left wing, I think it was Jay. We had a yellow card on the left wing, and like a fool, I didn't think about the kickoff. So we had to kick off, and I kicked off left, whereas I should have kicked off right, because we had no one to cover if they kicked. And choose Bob, we kicked off. They kicked, ball landed because there's no winger there, and bounced out. But they had their winger chasing, and that ball had bounced in. There's a good chance he would have caught that and scored. And these, again, are the sort of margins, So it gives me anxiety just talking about it. But it's amazing how quickly something small can go massively wrong.
But almost kind of cool that close run maybe got the team back together again. Because, again, it's a long play here. You guys started so well. Was that almost like something that was a blessing in disguise?
It's so hard to like, we won the game, and we'd given guys an opportunity. And what it did do is that, I think one of the things that can go wrong with an opportunity like that is that you play your guys that haven't been given the opportunity to start regularly, and they play a team like Tonga, and they absolutely shoot lights out, and they score tries and they play unbelievable. It's then it almost creates an expectation from the guy that's done really well. Am I going to get selected for the next week? But he's not. It's World Cup. Sort of, it's pretty much most coaches know what they're going to do. So that's, I think, sort of the worst case scenario. Whereas in this case scenario, we won the game. It wasn't flashy. We could have lost. And so, okay, everyone realizes 1 to 15 is pretty much set. And so it didn't cause any debate.
Interesting. So the next game, the final game of the pool stages, you had the USA 64-15. It was a statement finish to the pool. But I guess the biggest question was, how long did it take to console Habana for being rounded by Ngwenya?
He will never live that down. And man, what a try. I mean,
one of the best ever, best World Cup moments
The irony
ever.
is, I think Brian's done that to about 40 oaks himself, but I think it was purely because Brian was he was the hot stuff of 2007. He was amazing.
But that's exactly what made that moment so great.
Absolutely. And I think the Lord works in mysterious ways, but it was, I think, him just sort of putting a little finger on Brian saying, just let's take a trip to Humbletown for a little bit. But he served the team. And he comes across as a sort of rock star player, but he served the team extremely well, and he still laughs about it today. But I can tell you right now, if I want to irritate him, I'll just send in that clip.
Okay, so done and dusted. You guys topped the pool there. At this stage, like when you're in pool play, when you're in a tournament, how much other rugby are you watching? How many other games are you watching, or are you trying to stay in the moment and then detach?
You watch every single game that you think you might possibly come across. So every team that you think you might come across,
you're watching it live.
Yeah. And I mean, it's important. It's important to know. You watch all the top teams as well. Yeah. The only way to figure out if there's new trends or new moves, so the more you watch as a player, the better you can be.
And so, that's just like the whole team sits down, everyone's watching kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Bonding moments. All right, so into the knockouts, Australia and New Zealand, talking about watching other games, both out. So that must have been a bit of a shock. I mean, did it give you guys more confidence when you see the good teams go out? Like, what's the sort of dynamic within the team when you watch that stuff?
We were staying in the hotel in Marseille before our quarterfinal against Fiji, and we were watching obviously the All Blacks play France in Cardiff, I think. And our hotel was a sort of a cylinder, and so it was quite communal. So you could hear every time the French scored, our team would get excited, thinking there's a chance that you might not even have to beat the All Blacks to win a World Cup. And they were going, and then when it happened, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and eventually I lost my rag, and I bloody shouted at everyone. I just said, "Hey, you haven't done anything yet. You've still got a quarterfinal to get through." I said, "You see how fast things can change. A deer in the headlights. When you look at this All Black team, it's an amazing team that literally just succumbed to the moment and got frazzled by some bad calls with the referee, and they let it affect them for an entire game. And it can happen to anyone. So before you start celebrating here, get to bed and do your job first."
So that was very much the thing. You guys, the majority of the guys were happy that the French got through and the Kiwis were out of the picture then.
Kiwis been the best team to play against for the last how many decades? They're an amazing brand. They play an amazing game. We've always had to work extremely hard. They've been the hardest team to beat. If you take the last 30 years, they're the hardest team to beat. And I think we sort of tend to forget that because our team has been so good for so long in the last 2 World Cups. But it was a massive thing just to beat New Zealand at home, let alone away. It hardly ever happened.
Again, it's interesting. Again, like we don't know from fan perspective. Do you guys want to always take the toughest game, or are you taking whatever chance you get given, whatever opportunity?
Absolutely. On a World Cup, it's if you have to play them, then you have to beat them. But if you don't have to play them, or if they can't get through, it's not really your fault. But you'd much rather play against France in those days.
Sure. So your quarters came up against Fiji. You guys are pretty good. But then the Fiji were really good after halftime. So much so that it got to 2020 with 20 to play.
Yeah.
So we all know nowadays everything's about the squad of 23. It's how you use the guys over 80 minutes. But now with you guys, it was very much the first team and the replacements. So how did this game sort of change as far as you guys needed to do something big in the last sort of 10? Again, you would have obviously respected Fiji as being the best of those big nations, the big South Sea Island guys.
Yeah.
So what was the second half kind of like from your perspective? Because you went on and actually scored a try. You and John Smit scored a try. That kind of sealed it.
Butchie, I think. Butchie scored.
I think Bushy scored in the first half. I think it was John right at the end. Well, either way, I mean, it's like, did you feel like the bench could have been used better back in those days? Did you feel like it was always about just holding on till the 80?
It could have been, but no one was doing it. The bench was there mostly for injuries. It started to become used, but it just wasn't a thing. The coaches never really.
It seems strange to talk about now. I mean, this isn't a very, very long time ago we're talking here.
I know. And again, that game, we were 20 all. I mean, De La Salle scored to go 20 all, and I had a pretty firm talk in the circle after that try, and I said, they're the same faces you saw last night in the All Black jerseys. That's the same look you've got now. So you got two choices. We got 20 minutes left at 20 all, so we're gonna have to. Let's just do what we said we're going to do. Let's play a 20-minute test match. Stop giving Fiji opportunities, and let's. So I said we're going to kick off deep. They'll kick back. We're going to run it up, and I sort of gave this very simple plan, which thankfully worked. But it needed a rejig to say we got 20 minutes left. We're 20 all against Fiji, and the crowds were loving it.
Well, that's the thing, because the underdogs, they were very much against you guys.
Yeah,
and
so
that was evidence. Yeah.
So it needed us. We needed to be. Resuscitated,
reinvigorated, but it ended up being a good win. It's again, it was a good test for the team.
Well, they were flawless. I mean, everything I asked of them for the 20 minutes, they did exactly to the T. It was almost like okay, he's right. Let's go. We haven't stuck to the plan. So it was a magnificent 20 minutes.
Which then gets us into the semis. Okay, so England is still kind of thereabouts. So they now have France, and they managed to win that game 14-9. Argentina had beaten Scotland to get into their own semis, but earlier in the tournament they beat France opening match. So again, there isn't Australia, there isn't New Zealand to contend with, but these guys are doing well here. This is still very much on as a very tough semi-final to get into.
Argentina was good that World Cup. They really were. I mean, and they had a very effective kick, chase, pressure game.
Built on a good forward pack.
Big pack. And they had Juan Hernandez and 10. I mean, they were a very tidy unit. And so, but they only played one way. Yeah. And so I think that was probably the thing that we gave us confidence going into Argentina, is that we could go toe to toe with the forwards. But yes, we had an amazing back three. I mean, the amount of ball that they fed, they were going to feed Brian Abana, JP Peterson, and Monty. I mean, it was, we were the wrong kind of team for them to play in the semi-final.
As the scoreline would suggest, 37-13, capped off by BH, intercept try, Hugh Bladen going nuts. It's one of those magical moments. So now you guys have got to the final. Again, like I said, there's no New Zealand in the picture. The Wallabies are out. But this must have felt like really special for you, because to get to a final week, one game to go. All this planning, all the hope, and all the sort of strategy is now just on one thing, which must be so fun. Like, is it a relief getting to the final week, or do you feel like, okay, now the pressure is really something?
There's no relief. It's the most pressure I've ever felt in my life. Like the first press conference, there's 200 cameras. Everyone's there. The whole team's got to go. I mean, that week is different to any other rugby week in your life.
So, I mean, so you beat Argentina Saturday. Sunday, you can have a bit of a chill. Monday, and then literally you feel Monday, walk into it.
It's like walking from a 40-degree winter's day into a -5 room. Like it changes completely. And so, and everything. I mean, Thabo Mbeki flew in on the Friday. I had to get the guys together so that he could wish them luck. And we had messages from Madiba at the time. Hotel was bombarded with. I mean, it's chaos, absolute chaos. And so to try and remain focused and get through the actual work that week was going to be a challenge. But I've never been so nervous in my life.
But as a week, was it relatively successful as far as there weren't too many snags other than just your pressure and logistics? Everything else?
It was an absolutely perfect week. Yeah. We had no drama. Training was all on track. We had a pretty good idea of what we were going to do. But by that stage, you don't need to train. But everything went smoothly. The only thing we had to do was handle the pressure and also make the team understand this is not the same England team that they'd beaten 36-0. And those were the key factors for that week.
So we got all the sort of prep you'll have like that, right? You'll have the sort of sessions, the analysis and stuff. But when it comes down to you guys are in a huddle in the change room beforehand, how conscious are you of what you're about to say to these guys? I mean, is this something that you've been planning for years? Have you got a World Cup speech in your back pocket somewhere along the line?
I do. I never really, when I was a young captain, I prepared and I thought about what needed to be said, and we'd bring things in from an opposition point of view and where we were at as a team. But then, as you became more experienced, you sort of you get a feeling for the change room, which changes every weekend, about what needs to be said. Maybe something shouldn't be said. I still remember when Bakis was in the change room, I'd obviously go low key and not talk. And then I'd wait for him to go get stretched or strapped or do something, and then get the guys revved up. Because if I got too much of Bakis, he would be a slightly bigger handful to deal with in the first 5 minutes. But the interesting thing, and no one will I think will expect this, but I didn't have to talk at all. I've never experienced such a focus amongst a group. It's the World Cup final. What can I say that's going to make them more motivated?
Sure.
It was the most quiet our change room's ever been, and everyone had this sort of steely look, and there was a part of me that was oh, are they nervous, fearful, or are they just in the zone? And they were in the zone. It was incredible there.
And just ran out there, and you guys had the moments. I mean, you look back on like those games now, that must have felt like a bit of a blur to you. It was a tight game. World Cup finals back then were always quite tight affairs.
Yeah.
England were decent. They claimed to score a try with one leg out of the field. So, I mean, as the game went, it felt from a perspective, looking back now, remembering as a fan, that was when Bok Town was a really big deal. My mates and I went to Monty every Saturday to watch these games. It was a huge thing. But we never felt like it was really like that tight. 15-6, Monty did what he needed to do. You guys won. At what stage does the relief come in as captain, though? Is it very much like final whistle?
Dude, the final whistle went, and I felt like the world had come off my shoulders. First person I hugged was the ref. He was the closest guy. I've never felt such relief in my life. It's insane, and actually only felt relief until sort of getting into the change room and actually realizing that it's real. So yeah, it's a pretty cool moment.
When it comes to like after the game stuff, again, we have certain access that we see how these things go down. But like, are you guys even able to like party that night? The adrenaline dump must be so huge. We
did nothing. We went to the team room back at the hotel, and we drank for the whole night out of the cup, and wives, girlfriends, parents, friends all joined us. None of us went anywhere. We just wanted to enjoy the moment and be with the cup that we'd worked for so long. So yeah, it's super unglamorous, but it was exactly where we wanted to be. We didn't want to go out and share this with anyone else. We just wanted to be with our families and our friends.
So I just want to bring up a slide here just to kind of look back at exactly who this team was, because it's become so ingrained about, when the World Cup happens, everyone's so excited about these players, and when they win, of course, these guys become absolute legends. I mean, going through this team there wasn't really any. We're fortunate with the injuries. You guys pretty much had the squad that you wanted, and to go through from 1 to 22, there was players all around.
You have made one mistake.
I made a typo here.
Bobby didn't play in the final.
Was he not on the bench?
No. Vickers van Heerden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, John, somewhere in the internet's done me wrong there, because I referenced this pretty long. Yeah, it's looking back on this now, it really was such a phenomenal team. And again, I mentioned it previously, guys keep coming up with this whole thing about comparing teams, which one was the greatest, that kind of stuff. My first thought is you can never compare teams because rugby was different.
Yeah.
But you go through this team, it's about as flawless as it could have been there. As you said, Fourie and Butch as a halfback pairing, which is phenomenal.
They were good for that tournament.
They were so good for that tournament. And the thing with Percy kicking as well.
He was 92% kicker.
92%
Like as a
kicker,
captain, that's a dream. You know?
which took the pressure off Butch to just be the playmaking fly half. That forward pack was, again, there's nothing you could fault out of that with the kind of players that you had.
I was the shortest oak in the pack.
Which is, again, it just goes to show.
It's unreal to think. At 6'2", I was the smallest oak in the pack.
It was so great. And again, the continuity throughout as well. So this was the first string guys. Francois Steyn was the only guy who's pretty much like the story around this, because obviously Jean went down early in the tournament.
Yeah.
And it must have been a big call to have someone like Francois Steyn to go in at 12. You've got Wynand, who's obviously got the experience as the cover at 12, been playing fantastically in the Super Rugby. But I mean, how old was he? He was like 18, 19.
He was 19. And Wynand would have been probably the more, I guess, conservative call, because he played amazingly. He was incredible at the Bulls. I think that the difference for Jake was around Francie's monster boot, and Jake, he just knew that was going to come into play, and it did. But it was a big call to choose between the two of them. But I mean, we've looked now, we see where Francie's ended up. He's just a double World Cup winner. He was
probably a double center as well.
He's become a legend of the game, you know. Yeah. So, and Francie, you knew when you met him for the first time, this kid had it. He didn't worry about too many things. He didn't stress too much about life, and he just got on with it. And he was just put me in the field, tell me where to go, and off he went. And he could carry as a 12. He could step. I mean, he played wing for us as well. 10. I mean, it's just incredible player. But yeah, he came in and it seemed like such a risk, but it didn't feel like it was a risk. We would have loved Jean. Jean was an experienced, brilliant 12. But when he was out and France had to come in, he'd already been blooded into the squad, and everyone had understood what he's capable of, and he'd grown, his confidence had grown within the squad. It wasn't like we sort of sat in the dining room thinking, oh, geez, we got this lighty playing at 12. Just seamless.
Also testament to the team that you had created back then, because imagine a guy like Francois Steyn coming in 2003.
Yeah.
It couldn't have happened in that team structure. I wouldn't be.
And you look back to that 2003 squad, there were a couple of guys who did get drafted into that, and it was sort of ended their careers from a Springbok point of view. So, timing and the environment that you enter into is critical to your career.
So, John, after tournaments, how do these things kind of play out? Do you guys feel like you have a bit of a debrief, because it's such a high, and you've just spoken about the fact that you guys are always on tour with your mates, basically. To come back to ordinary life, there's going to be huge demands on you. Everybody wants your time. When did that sort of die down? I mean, especially with you being captain, you pretty much couldn't go anywhere for a while.
Yeah, I guess it's, you can't have your bread buttered on both sides. You can't want all the fame and play the game and get paid and not expect to be able to have that attention when you get home. So I think it's part and parcel of what you do. I think what you got to do is you got to create balance. You spoke about it earlier. You've also got to have a balance in your life. So if you want to go out for dinner with your wife, you must expect to be interrupted. If you want to have a private dinner, have it at home. Cook for her. So these are the kind of things that you just have to work around. But it's not fair to expect everyone to respect your privacy all the time. I mean,
sure.
We play for a team that represents millions and gives people so much hope. So 95% of the time, people are super grateful and they thank you for what you did, and they just want to take a picture. But you have to be able to manage that. And yes, every single famous, well, maybe not every single, but most famous people, I think, if they didn't have to do that side of things and they could lead a normal life outside of the lens, they'd take it. But it doesn't work like that.
I bet it doesn't. All right. So, I mean, it's a weird way to kind of wrap up what the 2007 Rugby World Cup was, because, as you said, Jake was then asked to reapply for his job. He was just adamant that was never going to happen. Did you guys ever have any chats around that to say, look, Jake, we've got what we've got now. The next 4 years, there's nothing stopping us from doing this again. Did you guys ever have that discussion, or was it very much like?
Certainly 101, we would have. I tried to get Jake, but he was irritated, and rightfully so. But and he's probably right. They wouldn't have selected him even if he applied. I genuinely feel that's just they wanted to get rid of him. He was causing them too many headaches, and he was just too hard to handle. So, yeah. I mean, we had and it's the way things happen. We had an amazing 4 years with Peter. Peter was probably the perfect human to come into that group. We were all sort of had become older dogs that couldn't really learn new tricks, and he came in and didn't ruffle too many feathers, and then slowly started to change, to tweak the way we played. And he genuinely, I mean, we obviously we're probably at our peak in 2009. It's the best we've ever been. And we genuinely went into a World Cup in 2011 with a chance of going back to back with a team that could have done it. And and that was because Peter just handled us in such an amazing way. And he could easily have gone against all of the stuff that Jake had built and his team and the guys that he would have perceived to be, wanting Jake as the coach. But he parked his ego from day one with the players. He had zero ego, and he handled guys fairly, treated us extremely well, and the guys loved him.
I still feel it's one of the biggest injustice ever in the fact that guy coached the best team in the world, basically, and then he coached no one else after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know where to start with a discussion like that. It just seems so absolutely bizarre, because as much as everyone talks about the 2007 World Cup, you just admitted it now, you guys kind of peaked after that. I mean, you guys clapped the Lions, beating New Zealand away, winning
we beat New Zealand 3 weeks in a row.
It was a very, very special time, which Peter should get all the credit in the world for.
It was a good time to be a Springbok, yeah.
All right, John, that's pretty much the World Cup. It was such a special time. I really did enjoy it. I just want to finish off with a couple of quick fire questions to kind of get the last little bits of juice from this incredible time. We know that when it comes to the World Cup, there's going to be guys who are going to be carrying more bags than running onto fields. It's the squad thing, and the Boks are very good, as you say, to put the team ahead of the players. Who did you feel was the most sort of unsung hero of 2007 Rugby World Cup?
I'd say the guy that probably deserves not the right word, but the guy that had to, I think, take the most medicine in terms of how little he played versus how well he'd been over the last couple of years. Probably Gary Botha, because Bismarck came onto the scene and right just before the World Cup, and he was phenomenal. And he actually came into the squad after Gary in place of PSPs. And Gary ended up having a really quiet World Cup. He barely played it in the games, and he had to carry bags. But man, he had an unbelievable attitude. Like he never let that get in the way of the team. And we didn't actually ever have any of those, guys that sort of getting miserable and negative on the, as a guy that's not getting enough starts. We were very fortunate. We had a really good group, but I think we treated them fairly. When we were discussing bonuses for World Cup, it was everyone gets the same, whether you carry a bag for 7 weeks or whether you start 7 weeks. Everyone gets the same, and that made a big impact on the group as well because we were all in it together.
Amazing. Just a gut feeling on that 2007 versus 2025 debate. If each of those teams run out in their prime, so we're not talking about who coaches who here, 15 versus 50, we're not talking the 23s either. What is your feel about which team would win between those two?
I don't think it's a fair question anymore because the game has changed from a law and what's the word I'm looking for here without physicalities. It's a much harder and faster game. The guys are conditioned way better. Like the attention to detail from S&C is amazing. But we used to get down and dirty, and we had a few oaks who used to dish out hidings left, right, and center. I don't think our team would last 15 minutes. We'd probably be playing with 11, 12 players after half an hour. So they'd probably smash us by 50 points because I don't think our guys would have fitted in with
yellow technical soft yellow cards.
New rules, yeah. Okay. These yellow under review and these cameras. I mean, this wouldn't have suited my team.
Best nickname of a fellow player in your entire career?
Best nickname. One of the best I've ever heard was used to call Lee halfpenny discount.
Solid. Most memorable match. I think you've already answered that. Was it 2007 or was it post that?
Yeah, 2007. That final was incredible. I mean, it's a horrible game to watch, but it was the most impactful game of my life.
and what you've gone through the 7 weeks prior and what it meant.
Yeah, and it changes it changes the trajectory of your life.
Absolutely.
To win a World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, call a World Cup winning captain is quite something. There's not too many of those people on this earth.
Is, yeah.
All right. Best post-match celebration, as in wherever, like been on tour, been at home.
Best jaw we ever had was probably Hamilton, 2009.
That must have meant a lot as well.
Guys went mental. Yeah, there were a couple of boys upside down, some torn T-shirts, some wonderful stories. It was the last game. We'd beaten them three in a row, and the guys let their head down.
They got stuck in. Is there a special WhatsApp group for Box Centurions? All 8 of you.
Yes.
Who's the admin?
We all admin. Yeah.
Okay. What would you tell a parent who says that rugby's too tough and therefore they won't let their boy play it?
It is a tough game. Like I can see, like I'd be nervous if my kid played rugby, But I suppose our kids can get hurt anyway. I mean, I watch my girls play hockey, and every time they have to defend a shorty, I literally close my eyes. So there's risk everywhere. What I'd say to them is the game has become so much safer. There's so many more things in place, and it's really the kid's choice. I think that the decision of a kid needs to be respected. If a kid is apprehensive, then don't force it. The kid must want to be able to play a contact sport, but I don't think that's a coachable parenting issue. I think that really is on an individual basis.
Okay.
You have to, and it actually comes down to the kid. Some kids are just not wired to run into people.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so without any hesitation, the Bok 3-peat in Australia, yes or no?
Very possible.
Okay. Final question, favorite Afrikaans musician?
Yeah. We've always used to use him at our get-togethers, and he was just such a great guy to have around, and he performed for us so many times. But Robbie Wessels, he was always in and out of our team during that time, and the guys all got to know him pretty well. So I always think of our time as a Springbok team and I always think of Robbie Wessels' music in the background.
Okay, take that, Kurt Darren, although you are obviously the son of Lofters. So, John, Rugby Championship's up next. And the reason why I want to bring this up just as we close out here is that your brandy brand now, Avant, it's just you and your motley crew of old players and current players.
Yeah.
Rugby Championship's going to be really exciting because we got interesting dynamics. But you guys have a prediction game that you guys play every single week of test match rugby, right?
Yes.
So it's quite simple. Basically, you can have one on John or Makazole. So if you buy Avant during the week of a test match, all you have to do is basically sign up by going to avantbrandy.com. You upload your till slip for the purchase. Now, once you've done that, you then go back, you watch the game, and if John's prediction or John's team's prediction comes right, then they'll literally match your order from that week. Easy as that. So the test match this weekend is going to be Australia versus the Boks.
Yes.
Start of the Rugby Championship. Let's put a little prediction out now. And if it comes off, whoever buys Avant for this week will get their purchase back. So no pressure, but let's put you on the spot.
We made the last one pretty easy against Georgia.
The last one I remember you guys doing was with Georgia.
Yeah. So we made that one too easy. So this one I'm going to make a little bit tougher, but I reckon the winning margin for any team will be 5 or less.
5 or less on a winning margin. So you think, let's just say the Boks are going to win 36-31, and that'll be, you reckon, is that tight?
Australia's come off a tough Lions series, and they've got proper game time under their belts. It's
good point.
It's really close. So they go from the 3 tests against the Lions into playing against the Boks. Boks have had a bit of a break, so they've been on camp, but they haven't had a game for a while. So I think it'll be closer than we expect.
I can't argue with that, actually, because like as you just pointed out through the whole World Cup, you guys are so battle-hardened. You got to that time, you produced. The Boks have had that break. The Aussies are traveling over here, but they would have learned a lot in that Lions series. So that's John's prediction. The winning margin is going to be by 5 or less. So all you need to do is go to avantbrandy.com, upload your till slip, and you can have one on them. So if you go to buy 6 bottles, John's going to reach into his storeroom there and he's going to provide 6 bottles. I'm not making this up, right?
100%.
That's a pretty good wager to make. So, avantbrandy.com, sign up, watch the game, and obviously banter with John on the social media. Follow Avant Brandy online. You guys have some amazing posts that go out there. And it's kind of cool because you guys are still so invested in the game as it is.
Yeah.
So to make predictions, it's coming from a good place, obviously.
Yeah, and it's just been so cool to be able to build another rugby team into this business. Everyone's obviously had to put something down to get this brand off the ground, and it's just gone fantastic. The support from everyone and the people drinking the liquid has been fantastic in such a short period of time. I think we're just on 2 years old, and making really great inroads. So it's great to be able to do it through the game that we love so much.
And guys winning awards, huh? The product's actually winning big time awards.
It's so good. Butchie was his only criteria was how does it taste, and it is magical. It's some of the top Cape brandy you'll ever get, and it's premium. It's well made, and it tastes amazing. And we've got 3 different versions. We've got the XO, we've got the VSOP, and obviously the 15-year-old. The 15-year-old is something special. Winning that 5 stars in the Platter Award is testament to the quality of the liquid inside there.
And Box Saturday's own brandy, I mean, it's become a thing. I mean, it always kind of was a thing, but now it's so mainstream. Everybody wants to get involved.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful way to get it today.
Yeah, they're our team for everyone.
John, thank you so much. The 2007 World Cup was something I'll always remember. I know we had the luxury of 2019, 2023, 1995. We are so spoiled as fans, but to be able to sit down on the couch with you today and to go through this, it's really, really cool. I'll never forget that tournament because those were my prime drinking years as well. I was in my 20s. I was stalling hard. Each one of those games, I remember them so clearly, but I also remember just getting, as you say, completely upside down for about 6 weeks of my life. It was special. And I think on behalf of everyone who is a fan, thank you for all you did. You put your body on the line there. You played over 100 caps for the Springboks. And as glamorous as that sounds, you dedicated your life to that. And I think we sometimes forget that through all this. But to look back on a career and a series of matches, it was so incredibly special.
It was good times. It's a chapter that I'll forever be grateful for. But thank you for having me.
Cool. All right, that's it for the show this week. We obviously have so much more rugby coming up because the Rugby Championship now starts, which is a hugely exciting time for us. Catch us back every Thursday, and of course, follow us on social media for more on team results, team sheets, announcements, and all of those good things. Check you then.